Samus in Smash Bros. Was the first woman introduced into the series, and her character has remained really faithful to her original series. Samus in Smash has two modes. Either they play the game really slow and at a distance, or right up in your face and ends the match in less than a minute. This closely resembles how people can approach the Metroid games, to where you either enjoy the environment and explore to your heart's content, looking for all the upgrades, or speedrunning the hell out of those games to finish it within under 3 hours. Not only that, but her moveset has been pretty faithful to her series, where it really expresses how mobile and flexible Samus can be, as well as powerful with her charge shot, bombs, and even her famous screw attack. Even though her moveset throughout the years remained pretty much the same, what she's chasing throughout the series certainly hasn't, and has led her to the deepest depths, as well as facing some of the most fearsome of aliens/parasites. But before I get too far, I will make a note that this is a special double edition drop, since as we know, Samus isn't the only character in the 4th character slot, but also a certain Phazon double gainer. So when you're done with this video, why not go check out that video as well. And don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe while you're at it. With this intro out of the way, let's go explore the lore and the story of Samus and Smash Bros., as well as some Metroid lore.
This game's winner is...
But before we get too far, let's quickly see Samus Aran's connections with everybody else in Smash 64. She did have a slight cameo in Mario's World, where we can see her sleeping. As well as her own game in Super Metroid, there are enemies that greatly resemble another common enemy in Mario's universe. She can also be seen with a bunch of other women in an F1 game, as well as other Mario characters doing the same. Also, in Metroid Prime 2, there's a small cameo of another common enemy from another series, so Samus being in Mario's as well as other Nintendo's universes has been established. Now, with that out of the way, let's start diving into Metroid's lore and story, as well as her story in Smash 64. By Smash 64, Samus has gone through 3 epic adventures in her series: Metroid, Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, and Metroid 3, also known as Super Metroid. Within these 3 games, we can get familiar with Samus' world as well as her purpose. She's a bounty hunter and was hired by the Galactic Federation, a federation of various planet leaders to come together to share their planet's cultures and resources. Her mission was to destroy the leader of the Galactic Federation's greatest enemy group, the Space Pirates. These bandits raided one of their research facilities and made off with a really powerful species that was recently discovered, known as the Metroid, a parasitic bundle of energy that can reproduce rapidly and have enough power to destroy whole civilizations. During her journey, she finds old relics that give her suits power-ups, as well as finding energy tanks and missiles to give her a bandit chance on raiding their base. After a couple of hours, she managed to defeat the 2 main bosses, Ridley and Craig, to gain access to the boss room, where she destroyed Mother Brain and caused a self-destruct sequence to activate that will blow up their base. After escaping, the Federation decided that the beings called Metroids are too powered to keep around, so Samus was set to go to their homeworld on planet SR-388 and eradicate all the Metroids there. However, when the mission was at its end, she came across a newly born Metroid baby that hatched right before her eyes and imprinted on her. With the help of the newborn, she was able to return out of the caverns and back onto her ship with the newborn on board, with her plans to have it studied at the Space Science Academy, where they learned that the Metroids can be used to help power societies. However, shortly after she leaves the Academy, she receives a distress signal from the Academy again that something has gone wrong. She returns to find all the researchers dead and the Metroid baby being abducted by an old enemy, Ridley himself. After a short battle, the Academy's self-destruct sequence begins, forcing Ridley and Samus to escape quickly or be blown up. After reaching her ship, she follows Ridley back to their old base on planet Zavos. However, to her surprise, their new base has many more rooms and many more traps waiting for her. After exploring their new base for a bit, she was able to acquire many of her old abilities, as well as many new ones, such as the new grapple beam that can now move from place to place. However, during her exploring, she found an old bird statue that got enhanced and made for direct combat that nearly wiped her out. However, she was able to defeat it but at a great cost to all her missiles. But the reward for defeating it was her favorite upgrade, the screw attack. With this, she was able to easily destroy and traverse the whole planet all over again. However, she needed to refuel and stock up on missiles again before going deeper to face her arch nemesis. However, as she returned to the Greenie, she encounters a new foe that she has never encountered before, a giant ape, and he doesn't look too happy. This is where I believe Samus' story in Smash begins, since in Smash 64, she has access to most of her most powerful abilities, the screw attack as well as the grapple beam, but doesn't have access to one of her first abilities, the missiles. However, since the missiles can run out within the game, I suspect she ran out of them during a tough battle, and at that point there's only really one battle that could be, and that's the optional mid-boss, the Golden Chozo statue. We also know that she has her Plasma Beam upgrade at this point as well, which could explain her fire attacks in Smash Bros. As well. So what is Samus' goal at this point? Well, it's easy. It's survival. However, it's also in her nature that once something weird or hostile interacts with her, she will go track down the source of it and destroy it. Even though she's out of missiles, she continues on exploring, and that's where she meets tons of other small creatures and even humans here that are all determined to fight her. However, even though most were hostile, she did manage to make friends with some of them, and we even met up with another intergalactic bounty hunter as well as some other mercenaries all on their own missions. Since she was unable to flee, her only option was to fight until she eventually meets up with Master Ham, to where after defeating it, she could finally escape back to her ship, where she can rest up and restock on all her supplies, as exemplified in the ending picture of Samus' helmet removed in the dark, but she's now resting up to go take on the rest of the bosses of this planet. And thus ends the story of Samus in Smash 64, and where the story of Melee picks it up right after. Now, even though there was no new Metroid games that came out during this point, Melee didn't leave us hanging with some lore drops in the trophy descriptions, where they dropped the reveal that Samus' suit came from a race of bird people called the Chozos, as well as the reveal that space pirates raided and destroyed her Earth colony K-21, to where she was the only survivor, since the Metroid games at this point didn't go that deep into her backstory. Samus, clearly haunted by this fact, has a dream where she was in the fight against Ridley again. She was armed with missiles, which we know from the games she did not have the very first time, meaning this had to be a nice little dream sequence, since none of this actually happens within game. From waking up from that dream, she was able to get back into planet Zebos, and after exploring the planet a little bit more for more missile tanks and missiles, she also found some more interesting creatures, and this time, it's not the creatures from Smash Bros. Instead, she found two unique creatures known as a Duckchora, and more importantly, the Etacoons, where they teach Samus how she can wall jump on walls, which she can now do in Smash Bros. Melee. She then thought that maybe it's a good idea to go down to Brinstar to see if there's any other creatures that can teach her some more unique skills. Unfortunately, when she went to Brinstar, she met up with the Great Ape again and had to fight it once again down there. This led to an even greater threat from happening. As she made her way down into the Brinstar depths, she got ambushed by 3 metallic clones of not only herself, but also a previous boss that should have been destroyed already, Craig. After narrowly surviving the encounter, Samus' mind was full of questions on how there were multiple clones of her, as well as Craig's revival. For Craig, she thought that since there was a baby version of him, that this must be another parent of it. But for her, how the robots were able to use all her moves makes her shudder at the thought that someone can copy all of her abilities. After all this thinking, the only way for her to get some answers was to head way deeper and finally confront Ridley and complete her mission. However, to everyone's disappointment, Samus discovers that Ridley is no longer on this planet, and even worse, that Metroid that he stole has escaped. And knowing the danger that it posed, she needed to track it down, leading her to find the true mastermind behind this all, Mother Brain, once again. However, unlike before, this time Mother Brain isn't just a brain, but once out of her tank, she gains the body of a fearsome beast with high attack and even deadlier ray beams that almost kill Samus. Luckily, the Metroid that escaped has grown huge and attacks Mother Brain, draining its energy, and once again, it comes over to us and gives us all the energy it has absorbed. However, Mother Brain still isn't dead and starts unleashing powerful attacks on the Metroid as it tries to heal us, and before long, the Metroid dies right above us. However, as it dies, we were able to absorb the last of its power, showing us that the Metroid stole the powerful ray beam of Mother Brain and can now use it in our arm cannon. With this new power, we are finally able to destroy Mother Brain once and for all. However, once dead, Mother Brain starts up another self-destruct sequence, forcing us to escape. However, once outside the base, we notice that the whole planet is shaking and steamy, meaning not only the base will blow up, but the whole planet. Not willing to let the nice creatures of this planet die, she mad dashes all around the place, freeing and collecting all the creatures she can in hopes of trying to help them escape. This includes not only the people of Smash Brothers who don't have a ship, but also the nice native creatures who taught her the skills to better navigate the land. With all the preparations now complete, she makes it back to her ship just before the planet explodes and manages to escape, as well as seeing all of the other ships escaping in the blast as well. With her mission complete, she can finally rest easy for a bit until her next bounty, which happens sooner than you think, because after Super Metroid, we can see Samus starts going around to different planets, meeting up with their royalties and taking up jobs for them to go and hunt down some dangerous beasts. For example, we see that Samus has accepted a bounty to go after Bowser, but to her surprise, someone else was trying to claim it for her. Also, even though we don't precisely know who put the bounty for it, we can see that Master Hand is a powerful space threat that was sure to bring destruction, which is more than enough reason for Samus to go after him. However, to her surprise, she found out that Master Hand was not alone in these schemes, and almost got ambushed by another more destructive creature, Crazy Hand. After claiming all of these bounties, Samus still wasn't calling it quits until she can track down Ridley. Thus ends the story in Melee. As you can see, Samus not only has some fierce power, but also a kind heart, which is explored more in the next session of Smash Bros. Series, Brawl.
The winner is Samus.
Now, Samus in Brawl is a bit of a tricky case, since Samus isn't the main highlight in Brawl, but Zero Suit Samus is. Not only that, but it does confirm for us that at this point, ZSS gets her suit in the beginning of the series, and it works in the Smash universe. In the beginning of Brawl, during the trailers, you can see that the power suit that gives Samus her name has broken up into many pieces, forcing ZSS to fight without it, until she gets another Smash Ball which contains another power suit for her. Kinda similar to how we get another suit in the game Metroid Zero mission, even down to a random ball full of energy. For the beginning parts of Subspace, ZSS takes center stage, so we'll get more into detail about that when we talk about ZSS's specific video. But for now, let's just head straight towards the actual suit, since that is what gives Samus her name. However, there are two important things I should point out at first. Final Smash destroying her suit is reminiscent of a hyper mode in Metroid Prime 3, to where it's the only time where a powerful blast causes self-damage to the point of destroying the suit. And second, there's a secret information in Brawl's Brinstar theme, to where it says that Samus sent out an emergency request for people to join the fight.
Samus is under fire. She sent an emergency directive. Join the fight.
Was this call ever answered? Let's find out. The next time the suit is seen again in the story of Smash Bros. Is during the campaign where we see it encased in a tube. We later learn that someone has been experimenting on it and has successfully made 2 dark copies of it. How could this have happened? Well, you'll have to go check out my video for that info. Nudge nudge wink wink. After ZSS releases and combines with Samus, we can see the firepower within that captured suit is huge, with lots of her abilities already equipped to it. With all this in hand, she felt really confident to explore this base on her own pace, and right when she was about to leave this part of the facility, she got ambushed by the being she was tracking down in the very first place, Ridley. To everyone's surprise, Ridley shows up out of nowhere and just grabs and slams Samus right into the wall. And that's not all. He then drags her body all across the wall and could probably have killed Samus at this point. Luckily, Samus, back when she was ZSS, built up a really good relationship with a brand new partner known as Pikachu. And he was able to step in and deliver a massive thunder attack on Ridley. And luckily Samus was able to recover after a bit, and even provide support to Pikachu by blasting Ridley with long-range attacks. After a bit, Ridley was defeated and has fallen deeper into the facility, and flaming away in defeat. Once he was defeated, both Samus and Pikachu exited the building and saw their next objective, a Rob carrying out a bomb. And seeing where that came from, she knows exactly where to head to next. However, it wasn't long then that once they entered, an alarm had sounded off, forcing Samus and Pikachu to quickly sprint through the place as fast as they can. Once at the end, Samus blasts through the door with her arm cannon ready, took aim at the Prime Minister, only to lower it, as the Prime Minister had a look of sadness to him. This is where the other intruders of the facility bust through the door above them, and to their surprise, it was the ape from her very first fight as well as the other bounty hunter she met back when she was hunting down Bowser. With all these people arrived, a hologram of the Mastermind shows up and orders all the Robs to blow up the bombs here. This is where Samus and co witness a power struggle of the Ancient Minister and the Mastermind to where the Minister loses. This just forces everyone to try to stop the Robs, with Samus trying to grapple them away, but to no avail. And eventually they just get swarmed by another group of robots. With the oncoming swarm, the Minister sheds his skin, and Samus and co gets a brand new ally in the Rob. After the swarm, they knew their only option now is to escape at this point, a Metroid classic. Luckily, the other bounty hunter is able to call in his ship, giving everyone else a way to escape. However, to Samus's distaste, it seems that during all of this, the space pirates were hard at work on Ridley, who was even able to revive him with all new mechanical parts, making him stronger and faster than ever before. Luckily, the ship was jam-packed with powerful people and were easily able to dispatch them, allowing them to escape this place. Thus ends Samus' story in Brawl. The only other thing to note at this point is the part that it doesn't seem like, from Smash Bros. Perspective, that Ridley was tracked down here after Super Metroid, but before the Prime series has started, since we do get Frigate Orpheon here as a stage, with the Parasite Scream still in one piece. That's the only really thing to note here. It's just like where it falls in the timeline, since at this point, Ridley at this point was reminiscent of Ridley back in Super Metroid, but as we know, in Super Metroid, once he dies, he gets revived in the Prime series, and this is very reminiscent of this stuff right here. So I guess you could say the events of Brawl could take place right between Super Metroid and the Prime series. So that's pretty interesting stuff, especially since the Parasite Queen is still active in the Frigate Orpheon stage here in Smash Bros. Brawl. So that's like another cherry on top of this. Well, with that story complete, let's move on to the next leg of our journey in Smash 4.
Samus.
Now, the story of Samus in Smash 4 is interesting, because Samus at this point is no longer part of ZSS, and is independent of her. Now, we can't just say that ZSS can choose whether or not to be in her suit at this point, but due to the events of her own games, as well as how advanced technology is at this point in our series, as well as how many other different types of aliens can interact with it, it's more likely that the suit is piloted by something else. What could it be? Well, let's take a look in Smash 4 to see what's going on, because there's a lot. Now, in the trailers, it doesn't seem like whoever is piloting the suit is still an ally, since Samus is seen helping out the other characters in battle. The only negative thing that Samus does that seems out of character is make fun of Lil Mac's height in his trailer. From this, we know that this isn't Dark Samus, since Dark Samus at this point is another one of her ults, as well as an assist trophy at this point. And to try to figure out more about what's going on here, let's take a look at the goals of Samus in this game then. And the only goal that she really seen here is the event mode, where Samus is focused on Ridley in this game, and she says she has to go hunt him down to avenge her parents. However, she is also stopped by another Dark Samus when she tries to approach this Ridley, but isn't the same Dark Samus. So we know that the end goal of this game, for her at least, is defeating Ridley, but what's interesting is how it starts, because not only does Ridley appear in this stage, but he also appears in the party mode of this game as an event. And not only that, but lots of other creatures also appear from her past, ranging from Metroids, the Mother Brain, and even the real Dark Samus, the Phazon included. Now, Metroids being recreated in this series at this point is nothing new. Space Pirates and even the Galactic Federation have been breeding/recreating Metroids in a lot of games at this point. And even Mother Brain just got confirmed as an artificial intelligence, so recreating it would be a simple base of their technology, as well as just finding another human mind to take over it, just like all the Aurora units back in Metroid Prime 3. Dark Samus, on the other hand, is more interesting, but we'll go more into detail on that during her video. However, the main thing to take away at this point in Smash 4 is that this game is influenced greatly by Metroid's Black Sheep, Metroid Other M. And apparently this is people's most hated Metroid game, so this is going to be a fun time to hear all the shade about it. But Metroid Other M does give us a pretty good insight on all the shady projects the Galactic Federation was up to at this point. The most important thing in that game to take away was that the Federation has been creating bioweapons, which are illegal in their universe, and they created bioweapons of Metroids, and even Sabistian space pirates, to another Mother Brain, and even Ridley himself again. Thus explains how Ridley can show up in this game. And they aren't just recreating them as well, but enhancing them and giving them mechanical parts/weapons, and even removing a lot of their weaknesses, such as the Metroid no longer being affected by ice once they're fully grown from their larval stage. Now this explains why all these creatures are in Smash 4, but Samus also got a bit of a shady dealings here as well, because in the beginning of Other M, Samus wakes up in the Federation lab where they say they recovered her and even polished up her suit, which later revealed that they were able to find DNA samples of Ridley on her that later went into their projects for bioweapons. Now, something interesting to make note of is that even though this is canonically the first time Samus has seen the Galactic Federation's secret projects, it's not our first time, since we know in Metroid Fusion, the one that takes place after Other M, not only does the Federation have more Metroids, but they also have the complete schematics and even data on Samus and all her weapons. So, if the Federation are doing secret bioweapon projects, then I'll bet they're also trying to recreate a Samus suit as well. Yep, I'm saying this in Smash 4, the reason that Samus and ZSS are separate is because the Federation want to test out their new suit. See also how ZSS in Smash greatly improved her base arsenal by having a better pistol as well as giving herself rocket boots that greatly boost her speed and attack power. However, even though the Federation inspected her suit and have data on it, that doesn't mean that it's completely ready for show yet. As you can see in Samus' custom moveset, she should have access to all her other abilities, such as like a plasma gun or an ice-based attacks with like her missiles, or even give her some like plasm, some energy-based weapons. She could have a whole arsenal of lots of different things. But all her custom moves in Smash 4 just feels like failed modifications of her suit that just make them act so weirdly. Like her screw attack, her missiles, and even her bombs all just act pretty out of whack. Also, it's a good thing to remember that at this point that Samus can manifest her suit, now practically at will, based on the Metroid Prime series as well as Other M, which will be important later on. Well, with that all the way, let's start talking about Samus's overall story in Smash 4. All was well for Samus in the early parts of Smash 4. She was simply helping out her allies, fighting new recruits, and even started to relax a lot more. She even joined them for the occasional tour of the areas. However, during one of these tours, something unexpected happened. Seemingly out of nowhere, Metroid started appearing and started sucking people's power away. Not only that, but they soon got ambushed by her arch nemesis, Ridley, once again, except he seemed a lot bigger this time. After giving chase to Ridley, they managed to track him down to a secret facility operated by the Galactic Federation, known as the Pyrosphere, a habitat for Zebesia's fiery creatures, where Samus confronted not only Ridley, but a dark version of herself. But it wasn't Dark Samus, since Dark Samus is stuck in the Aegis trophy for right now. The battle was hard fought, but the end results ended having the dark version of her destroyed, but Ridley managed to escape and flying away greatly damaged. Samus, at this point, disengages her suit and thinks it's a good idea to go from this point on without it. And right she was, because shortly after she does, another Samus suit is seen walking around in her classic orange form. However, this one isn't quite right. Even though it has all the basic weaponry, it doesn't have any of the advanced features of her suit. And even its missiles and screw caps go haywire every so often. So, in order to ensure the safety of the people here, ZSS gears up to take down the imitator, despite what the Federation would want. Thus ends the story of Samus in Smash 4. It doesn't get that weird, but seeing as the only Metroid game that came across goes deeper on the Galactic Federation's shady dealings, this is the best explanation I could come up with going on for Smash 4. But with that all said and done, let's move on to Ultimate.
Samus wins!
Smash Ultimate is also complicated for the same reasons. Once again, Samus and ZSS are separate characters, but are at one point the same person in the trailers. Samus is once again being piloted by ZSS again, but does get short-lived pretty fast. However, before I go too far, I should mention the one new Metroid game that happened here is Federation Force, where Samus did get captured and experimented by pirates, but it doesn't really matter since in Ridley's reveal trailer, the arena they are in greatly resembles the boss arena back in the Galactic Federation post in Nordon. This could mean that the Federation could have been working on bioweapons as well as cloning Ridley as far back as Metroid Prime 3, since that game is where the Federation was in a constant arms race against the pirates. So I do believe the story in Ultimate at this point was trying to track down the new Ridley that from Smash 4 that managed to escape. So let's get that story underway. So the story in Ultimate point was trying to track down that new Ridley that managed to escape back in Smash 4. However, Samus does get a huge emergency call, but a huge collection of energy that can endanger the whole universe. Seeing the priority this one takes, she decides to head straight there. Thus begins the World of Light campaign, and this is where things take an interesting turn, since at this point Samus and ZSS both possess character trophies in the World of Light campaign. Now, this could be a repeat of Smash 4 with the Secret Government project, but instead I'll just throw in another contender for the ring, SAX. Yep. If you're confused with what that abbreviation means, it just stands for Samus Aran X. And if that doesn't sound familiar, well, you should play more Metroid games, because that was the main antagonist going on back in Metroid Fusion. Yep, I'm saying that at this point, other than Ridley's trailer, that Samus is not Samus, but instead the X-Parasite. What is the X-Parasite, you may ask? Well, it's a mimic virus that slowly copies the DNA of any creature it attaches itself to, killing it, and takes its form and power for itself. These things were present in Metroid Fusion, and seeing how it was the last canonical Metroid game at this point, it seems like a fun idea to throw into here, since the X-Parasites can have a canon reason for fighting with everybody, and not just trying to destroy everyone, and that reason is their survival. Whenever the X-Parasite finds something and deems it a major threat to their own species, they immediately do everything they can to destroy it, even at the cost of its own life. See it back in Metroid Fusion, where the Metroids got loose, and an example of this is when back in Metroid Fusion, when the Metroids got loose from the secret facility, they sent one SAX to go there and detach the whole secret area to the ground in order to keep the rest of the X-Parasites alive. See also when they tried to malfunction the cooling units in that game and try to get the lava area to implode the whole area in order just to kill Samus. See, these things are really determined to keep their species alive. Now remember, I'm only explaining this just for when ZSS and Samus are present on the screen at the same time. Most of the time, it could just be Samus choosing to wear her power suit whenever she can for her current mission, as exemplified back in Metroid Other M. So the story is Samus could start off with ZSS Pioneer suit, but later on we do know that it does get destroyed right away during Ridley's traitor, when Ridley got the upper hand. However, with the role of Samus being filled with the SIX still roaming around, and know the danger their species are in with Galeem's next attack, they could have no choice but to try to stop it as well. And try is an accurate word. What was Samus unable to blast away Galeem's light beams? However, once revived, they continue to hunt down Galeem and eventually Darkon, and even managed to revive not only its pal Ridley, but also ZSS, who are locked away in the Dark Realm. However, even with them saved, Samus struggled heavily and couldn't finish off the Galeem. If it weren't for Cloud Strife's pass coming back for him, SIX probably wouldn't have survived this game. Once Galeem and Darkon had been defeated, ZSS knew she would never have another opportunity again to destroy not only SIX, but Ridley. So once she's ready again, the final fight for them is just about to happen. Thus ends the story of Samus in Ultimate. I know the SIX might not be a huge winner, or just comes out of left field too much for what is essentially supposed to be a Samus story, but I think it does give a nice exploration within the Metroid's canon at this point, to explain for both ZSS and Samus being on screen at the same time. And honestly, it just kind of sucks that there hasn't been any good Metroid games at this point to help explain things further, because technically the last game in the Metroid canon at this point came back all the way out for the Game Boy back in 2002. But hey, you just gotta roll with what you got. Plus, the Metroid games were just super fun to talk about. Speaking of which, what's going on with the Metroid games next? Oh yes, Metroid 5, and look who's returning! Can't wait to get into that. But that ends Samus' story, and with that, I hope you guys enjoy. Catch you guys on the next one. Till then, later.